When when I was last time I was in Sinaloa researching the whole counterfeit pills, mostly M30s, these little blue pills containing fentanyl. Uh, One of the only things that the cartels didn't want to show were the pills making machines. Somehow, for some reason that I still can't get my hand around it, I still don't understand why they will try to hide that. Because they show me the precursors, they show me the process, they talk to me about like the Chinese cooks that were, brought to Sinaloa to cook fentanyl pills and all that stuff. They even show me the older, cooking labs were set up in the outskirts, like huge cooking pots and shit. And but what they didn't want to show was the pills pressing machines. It was something like a secret. I don't know if they wanted to avoid, people from actually trying to steal their secret or whatever. But even if that's the case, they didn't want to show the pills pressing machine. I got a couple of photos eventually. I'm going to show you these photos right now on camera so you can have a look at them. These are Chinese pills pressing machine. Very rudimentary, right? Like nothing too complicated. I'm not sure how much pills can these machines press, but what I know and what I've heard from these guys in Culiacan is that they were at every single location on a day, probably 8 hours, 10 hours working day, they were pressing over 1,000 pills. Each pill is sold in the US. It depends on the city, depends on the market, but let's say they range from $2 to $5. So that's the range. Each pill, every single day, one single location can manufacture 1,000 pills using these pressing machines that they are getting from the same guys shipping off precursors and pure fentanyl. Now, if you still think that the Chinese government is not doing this stuff on purpose, I think this is a mistake. They're sending pure fentanyl, they're sending precursors, they're sending the machines, and they're sending their chemists to show Mexican drug cartel how to cook this shit. As you remember from a couple of newscasts ago, I think last week, we read how a private research found that these Chinese-based companies were shipping tons of fentanyl precursors, pure fentanyl, knowingly that this was intended to be taken into Mexico. So they know they're working along with the Mexican drug cartels. They keep denying that officially. The official version of their government is like, we're not doing that shit. But now the US government found that they're going further on, shipping also the fucking pressing pills pressing machines from China into Mexico. Let me read what the US Department of Treasury had to say. They recently published these presser saying Treasury sanctions China and Mexico based enables of counterfeit fentanyl-laced pill production. Washington. Today, the U.S. Department of the Treasury Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, sanctioned 17 individuals and entities involved in the international proliferation of equipment used to produce illicit drugs. These targets are directly or indirectly involved in the sale of pill press machines, dye molds, and other equipment used to impress counterfeit trade markings of legitimate pharmaceuticals onto illicitly produced pills, often laced with fentanyl, frequently destined for U.S. markets. Treasury sanctions target every stage of the deadly supply chain, fueling the surge in fentanyl poisonings and deaths across the country, said Undersecretary of the Treasury for Terrorism Financial Intelligence Brian E. Nelson. Counterfeit pills laced with fentanyl constitute a leading cause of these deaths, devastating thousands of American families each year. We remain committed to using all authorities against enablers of illicit drug production to disrupt this deadly global production and counter the threat posed by these drugs. These designations, which target 7 entities and 6 individuals based in China and 1 entity and 3 individuals based in Mexico, will not have been possible without the cooperation of an ongoing collaboration among OFAC, the DEA, HSI, which it's interesting that it's HSI El Paso Field Office. We recently interviewed the former supervisor for this office, and he shared a lot of good stuff. If you haven't watched that interview, go to my channel, look for Oscar Hagelsev's interview. And CBP. These partnerships highlight the Biden-Harris administration strengthened hold of government offensive to save lives by disrupting illicit fentanyl supply chains around the globe. Pertaining to Mexico-based persons sanctioned today, this action was also coordinated closely with the government of Mexico, including the Unidad de Inteligencia Financiera, Mexico's financial intelligence unit. Pill press and counterfeit pill typology. Then we have the photos of those very rudimentary machinery right there. A pill press, also called a tablet press or a tableting machine, is a mechanical device that compresses powdered substances into tablets of uniform size and weight. The U.S. government regulates pill press machine importation. These machines vary in size and capacity, each of which can produce thousands of pills daily. Just what I was telling you, 1,000 pills a day at the least. The lack of controls and safeguards in illicit pill production often results in inconsistent and lethal dosages. Illicit drugs in pill form, including those laced with fentanyl, might be blank or bear custom impressions. They might also be counterfeits of scheduled drugs bearing trademark word marks without authorization, such as M30 for Schedule II Oxycontin products or Xanax for Schedule IV Alprazolam products. Manufacturing illicit drugs in pill form requires a pill press machine, a controlled substance, and dye molds. Metallic pill press components bearing impressions that are punched onto pills. A dye is fixed to a pill press machine in order to punch repeated impressions during pill mass production. If the impressions on a dye and on the pills it punches mimic trademark pharmaceuticals, the dye and impressed pills are counterfeit. Facilitation of equipment importation by bad actors is sometimes attempted in a manner designed to evade law enforcement scrutiny, which can include the mislabeling of shipments, the use of circuitous shipment routes, and the shipment of equipment parts in piecemeal fashion. Disrupting facilitators of counterfeit purse production. And this is where we have the names of a lot of these bad actors flagged by the U.S. Department of Treasury. Today, OFAC designated Chinese pill presser supplier Youli Technology Development Limited, Youli, along with 3 Youli affiliate Chinese nationals, Guo Chunyan, Guo Yunyan, and Guo Ruigang, all located in Yihuizhou, China. Youli has shipped pill press machinery to individuals in the United States involved in the manufacture of counter pills. This is some interesting facts right here, guys. These pill press machines were shipped to the U.S. and not into Mexico. I recently spoke with a higher up member of the Sinaloa cartel from a very known family, which are not the Guzmans in Sinaloa. And he said that. I had my doubts, because he said, no, we do that kind of shit here, but we also do that stuff in the U.S. We press pills, we cook fentanyl within the U.S. So this is probably the second time I hear this from a reliable source. Youli ships the machinery using techniques intended to evade law enforcement scrutiny. In addition, Youli has shipped scheduled pharmaceuticals to the United States for counterfeit pill manufacturing. Guo Shunyan and Guo Yunyan have supplied pill presses and dyes to drug traffickers operating in the U.S., including those involved with fentanyl-laced pills production. This is probably one of the biggest takeouts from what's happening regarding the whole fentanyl stuff. This is happening also in U.S. soil, which we need to address, and we need to push or authorities to do something against this, because all we hear is the Sinaloa cartel. We're not even hearing a lot from the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación or the other families. There's a lot of other families doing this same shit that are not the Guzman at a larger scale. But also within the U.S., I mean, this shit is coming to U.S. ports of entry through sea or by air. But this is coming through U.S. ports of entry, where we have CBP officers allegedly looking for this kind of shit. OFAC designated Youli, Guo Chunyan, and Guo Yunyan person to the executive order 14059 for having engaged in or attempted to engage in activities or transactions that have materially contributed to or pose a significant risk of materially contributing to the international proliferation of illicit drugs or their means of production. OFAC designated Guo Ryungang pursuant EO 14059 for having acted or purported to act for or on behalf of directly or indirectly Youli. OFAC also designated Shenzhen, China-located Yason General Machinery Limited, Yason, Hong Kong registered but Shenzhen, China-based Yason Electronics, and Nanchang, China-located Shenzhen Yason, interrelated Chinese companies implicated in the supply of Press Equipment International. OFAC additionally designated Yason and Yason Electronics Company, a Chinese national. Yason sells peel press-related equipment and has worked with a Mexico-based peel equipment supplier and contact who previously provided equipment to a Sinaloa cartel-linked individual. This individual used the machines to create superlabs in Mexico with the capacity to produce millions of fentanyl-laced peels weekly. In 2017, Yason Electronics sent a peel press machine in multiple packages and via the U.S. to the contact in Mexico, the intended buyer of the equipment. I think my guy, the guy I'm talking with, who is sharing a lot of information because he really has nothing to lose anymore, was the responsible for importing this shit, because this is exactly modus operandi he described to me. They were shipping machines and precursors not in a single batch, but little by little, right? And when they received them in the U.S., some of that stuff stayed within the U.S., but most of that stuff crossed the border by land into Mexico to keep working and then bring the pills back into the U.S. OFAC designated Yason and Yason Electronic pursuant to, and then we have like the whole designations of that sub. I'm going to skip that paragraph, go straight to the next one. Today's designations also include Mex Packing Solutions, a Chihuahua, Mexico-based business that sells peel presses and other equipment and is controlled by a Sinaloa cartel peel press supplier. Again, it's not all on the Chapitos. It's not all of the Guzmans. This supplier is based out of Chihuahua, right next to the border with El Paso, Texas. And it is someone else known as a basically peel press supplier. He's a supplier for and affiliated with the Sinaloa cartel. The business has been used as a cover for an individual involved with making fentanyl-laced pills and with assisting Mexico-based cartel members with peel press operations. Goods from Mex Packing were shipped to another peel press equipment supplier involved with coordinating shipments of peel press machines and parts to drug trafficking organizations, including the Sinaloa cartel. Along with Mex Packing, OFAC designated 3 related individuals, all Mexican national: Mario Ernesto Martinez Treviso, Cynthia Adriana Rodriguez Almeida, and Ernesto Alonso Macias Treviso. Martinez, a sales representative with Mex Packing as of late 2022, was responsible for managing activities of a peel press supply network in Mexico, the head of which supplied peel press equipment to the Sinaloa cartel that the Sinaloa cartel used. In this role, Martinez maintained a business communication with China-based supplier Yason Electronics between 2019 and 2022, provided the network with numerous peel press machines and M30s die mold. Rodriguez, as late of 2022, had a senior role in the peel press equipment supply network, which likewise necessitates coordination with China supplier Yason Electronics. Between 2015 and 2021, Rodriguez also assisted with illicit drug production, including illicit drugs in peel form. Macias is a sales associate for Mex Packing. This is also some really interesting stuff. This is a fully working and operating company in Mexico that has a marketing representative calling directly to China to make these kind of deals. a lot of these pills also end up in regular, quote unquote, pharmacies in Mexico. So a lot of US people that comes into Juarez or Tijuana to get their pills, their medication, because it's probably cheaper down here, they are getting all of their stuff from an official pharmacy. But I'm pretty sure that if they go and test that those medications they're getting, they're gonna find some gruesome fucking fentanyl on those. Because these kind of operations, these kind of companies, they not only um, ship stuff, right? They not only do like all these fucking work just to be shipping stuff into the US, they also sell it to pharmacies. OFAC designated Mex Packing Martinez and Rodriguez Pursuant, and then we have all the designations. I'm going to skip also through that paragraph. Lastly, OFAC designated online business TDP Malls, an entity established and controlled by Zhao Dongdong, a Chinese national located in Yantai, China. In addition to TDP Malls, OFAC designated Chinese nationals entities Xiao Panhao, Yantai Jishun, Yantai Mei Shun Trade. TDP Malls offers a range of peel press machines and dies for sale. And as recently as 2020, TDP Malls shipped to the United States several peel press die molds, including ones used to produce counterfeit Schedule II oxycodone and amphetamine peel products. As of 2019, Xanax dies used in support of U.S.-based peel press operations and sourced from TDP Malls were seized by U.S. authorities. So again, as I was just telling you guys, they are pressing not only M30s, they're also pressing Xanax. They're pressing all sorts of shit that a lot of US medical tourists get from regular pharmacies in Mexico. This is wider. The scope and the problematic is even wider than what we think. It goes beyond the black market in the US. It goes into the regular stream market of medicine in Mexico and in the US. This involves China companies shipping shit to the US and Mexico. So the scope goes absolutely wider. And I think we need to be aware of what is really happening with the whole counterfeit pills, fentanyl issue, because it's not only Mexico. Let's also put some responsibility on the US authorities, on the Biden administration, to act upon against those who are also doing this stuff in the US, and probably to better regulate also the Mexican pharmaceutical market. Mexican doctors, giving out prescriptions like if they were, I don't know, guys, like free money for them. It's crazy fucking shit. We need to have a look also to those regular pharmacies operating in border cities like Ciudad Juarez and Tijuana. I'm gonna stop reading from that press release right now. I think that's interesting development, since that was one part of the business that the Sinaloa cartel wouldn't share with me on the several trips I made to Sinaloa, and that I was just recently researching through a source in Culiacan.